All right, welcome back to E&E, the show that tells you all about how to be an expat and an entrepreneur. This particular episode was recorded several weeks back, but hey, it was March Madness, had a whole lot of other things going on we ain't even gonna get into, but I wanted to make sure everyone got to see this particular story with Glenn and Sheri Brooks, 9-time authors, business owners. They're gonna get into exactly what you should be thinking about in terms of setting yourself up for business success, financial success, before making that move to Panama or any other country. So let's get to it. Welcome to E&E, the show that introduces you to others who have started businesses and are now living financially independently abroad. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Glenn and Sheri Brooks. Between them, the Brooks have authored 9 books. They have numerous coaching businesses and are often requested public speakers. Recently, they've added the title of Expat to the resume. Folks, gotta tell me, did I miss anything?
Nah, you didn't miss anything.
That's good. That's good.
That's good.
You both are so accomplished. So what I wanted to do is start with you, Sheri, if I may. I was looking at your books, doing my research, and I noticed that you authored a book, Building a Successful Marriage and Business Without Losing Either One. Why did you write that book? And what was the message that you were hoping people would take away from it?
That's an interesting question. I don't think I've had anybody actually ask me why did I write the book. But I wrote the book because over the past, since 2015, well, it actually goes back before then. The thing that I've learned over the years, of course, of our 25 years in marriage, we've worked together in different aspects, from Glenn being in ministry full time to now us running our own business, is that it's possible to do both, but there has to be balance. And often what happens is that the individual who's the entrepreneur or the business owner will often devote the majority of their time to that business, that thing, whatever that thing is. And in them doing that with that drive to be successful in whatever it is, their family gets left behind. I often told Glenn that his job, the ministry, became his mistress because there was no balance. And so when we got into business and started our own business together, we had learned lessons from doing that the wrong way, from him not having the balance. And I wanted to be able to help other couples because it was a story I heard over and over and over again, where couples were in business and the person that was not necessarily the visionary, the business person was feeling left behind. They were feeling left out. They were feeling like they were being, they were an afterthought, that the person was so consumed by whatever it was that they were doing. And sometimes it could be just them in their career. It didn't even have to be a business. If you're so career focused that you're driving after that thing, that your family would get left behind. And I wanted to be able to help couples to be able to figure out how to be able to do both successfully without sacrificing your marriage, but also being able to achieve your dreams.
That's amazing. And the fact that you know couples who are already in business speaks to the type of people that you guys work with. Oftentimes, the people that I come across, they didn't want to work with their spouse. They actually looked at it as like, they've got their space, I've got my space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I noticed about the two of you when I came to meet you was you move as a unit. And even though I had originally planned to just have a conversation with Glenn, it became clear it was impossible to do this without involving you, because it's such a dynamic couple, and the way you guys flow. I can't understand the business. I don't think it makes for a good story without having both of you involved. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Good to be here, man.
I also wanted to acknowledge that you celebrated your 25 years of marriage here in Panama. My wife and I are also in year 26. And we got a lot of people visiting us now. So I'm assuming that you also are having a whole lot of folks flying to Panama, taking up time in your guest room, looking at hotel reservations. What's it been like making that transformation to living south of the United States?
It's been interesting, to say the least. We just literally, my niece is on a flight back to the U.S. today, along with a half a dozen her girlfriends, one of which celebrated her 40th birthday. And I had the unique pleasure of mentoring a bunch of her friends over the years. And so for us to spend time with them last Friday night was just a full circle moment. But my sister, her mother, and is coming the end of this week. So her and her husband. So it's like, yeah, it's a never ending thing, but we're excited about it. One of the biggest things that we heard when we first moved here from expats was get ready, because no matter how many times you invite them, your family is not coming. And I
Oh,
thought to myself, that is a strange statement. And I wasn't sure how to take that, because it was like, well, why not? And, I understand sort of the premise around it because of some of the things it takes to, fly internationally and that sort of stuff. But more importantly, I boiled it down to it was a mindset. And there are some people that don't have that kind of mindset that it takes to travel. And so we're excited every time somebody pulls up. It makes it feel more home-like, if you will, because obviously we're in a different country. But it's been an amazing ride, brother.
I was talking to my wife, and as you know, we also have family here this week. My son came down. One of my nieces came down. My grandparent, well, I'm sorry, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my sister, and my mother already live here. And the first thing is they're always just kind of surprised at, just the whole vibe of the city. It's not a resort. When you come here, you're part of the culture, and you're going to just have to be out there. And I think a lot of people actually appreciate that. And I really think that there's um, a lot to be gained by just becoming immersed in the culture of whatever country you decide to move to. Um, Now, I do want to ask you a little bit more about like the thought process that went into coming to Panama, right? Um, for me, I didn't decide to start a business until we had already made the decision to come here. So I do software marketing, strategy, and for me, business has been booming. I'm like, I don't want to work this much. Um, what was it like for you guys? Did you already know how you were going to run things when you got here? Did you decide to get out of some businesses, or did you decide you're going to actually do new businesses out while you got here?
Yeah, I'm going to let Sheri jump in on that. She did most of the
Thank you,
research, and then I'll kind of fill in the blanks. Come on back.
brother. I love you, but we got to hear from the women, the planners, the executors.
Yeah, for us, our situation was a little different than other people because we had been in our own business for 5 years prior to moving here. No, more than 5 years, 6, whatever. We started 6 years
Yeah, it was
because it's 7.
2000.
Yeah,
We
six
started
years.
our business in 2015.
15. Right. And so, and our business was an online business. And so, primarily everything we did was online. We did in person events and things like that, but those are not day to day functions of our business. And so, when we started looking at moving to Panama for our own personal reasons to relocate, as far as our business, we looked at a couple of factors. Number one, was it something that we could do remotely? The answer was yes. So we actually did a trial run the year before we moved here. We just went on the road in the States. We went to Florida, we went to Atlanta, and staying in hotels, was able to see that we could, in fact, do that while we were on the road. And so when we were ready to move here, we also reevaluated our business and determined, okay, so we're not retired, but we knew coming here, we wanted to be able to enjoy the culture. We wanted to enjoy our time. One of our big values is time freedom. And so although we run a business, our business is not a 8-hour day, 5 days a week type business. We're able to set our own schedule. And so there were certain portions of our business that we actually had started cutting back to give us more free time before we even moved here. And so we actually took a sabbatical for 6 weeks. When we first got here, we shut the business down completely for 6 weeks for us to and get situated, so that we could come and not have to, deal with the business and everything, but to actually just get settled personally. And so we took that break. And then when we started back up, we just kind of looked back at what did we have to do and what could we let go of, what was most beneficial for our clients in order to maintain the level of service that we were giving them. But were there some auxiliary things that we didn't need to continue? So we cut out a couple of programs and kind of streamlined things and brought everything into one under one umbrella, and it's been beneficial for us because it gives us the time freedom. It gives us the focus instead of being on so many pages. We're focused on one thing, and it's helping us to we're kind of reinventing ourselves in that one avenue, which is relationship coaching. So we're reinventing ourselves and starting up, trying to build new momentum on that. But also, while being here, one of the things that we wanted to do, we wanted to add value to the people here in Panama. We wanted to be able to freedom to be able to help people here. And so we were doing a business coaching arm of our business prior to moving here, where we had new business owners, and first completely new business owners up to like 5-10 years in business, that we were helping them with develop their online presence. And one thing that we learned when we got here is that a lot of the businesses here don't have those things. They don't have the back end. They don't have scheduling systems. They don't have a lot of things. And so we've created, we're in the process of creating, we actually have a couple of people we are mentoring now, but we're creating a system to start mentoring business owners here to be able to help give them some of those skills, some guidance. And so although we were doing it for income purposes in the States, we are doing that as kind of our give back here right now to be able to help add value to businesses here.
So real quick, let me just fill in a few gaps to your question, Aaron. When we did not think, like most people, and yourself included, when we move abroad, how will we make money? That was never a question. It was never a part of the equation for us because we were already full-time, entrepreneurs, had written 9 books. We had been on the road. We did all the speaking engagements. We created this amazing coaching services that we provide now for the last 7 years in certain kinds of aspects. So that was never the issue. It was just about how do we want to show up. And so to Sheri's point, time freedom was the issue. So we probably work on average about 5 to 10 hours a week at the very most, where we have to physically show up to do something, but that's all by design. And our revenue hasn't necessarily suffered. It's because we're priced accordingly in terms of what we need. And that's the other part I think that people need to understand when doing this. It really boils down to what do you want and what do you need? And so for us, it's not about making as much money as humanly possible, because part of the move here sort of handled some of that. And I'm sure you probably have questions about that.
Oh, yeah.
But it really just became a lot easier. And so we don't live on a hamster wheel in that respect.
A lot of that we talked about, but for the benefit of everyone, like there are things that you might think in your life, if you're living in the States and watching this, that you just have to have. And actually, you're correct. You have to have a vehicle. You have to have maybe dry cleaning budget. You got to have these things in order to show up to your profession in a certain way. This is definitely a lifestyle change. You come here, you don't necessarily need these things, and you can contribute to the local economy by using the services they already have. One of the things I've had to get used to, though, is just how different commerce is here. Where I might be used to seeing a website and a mobile app, here, WhatsApp is the platform, and that's how you're going to get everything done. Facebook is much more the platform to get things done. And so I'm hesitant sometimes, I think, to tell the locals how things should be done, because they're looking at it like, nah, we're running very lean. Tell me, when you coach people, because one of the things I thought about was like just putting a business in a box, not necessarily like a box, but saying, here, you need a scheduling tool, you need this, you need this, you need this. We're just gonna put it all together for you, and now you are the star of your program. What sorts of things are you finding out here, if you want to share, to the extent that you want to, that you can contribute and add value to?
Well, I think it's really just helping them to build the best back end for their system. One thing that I realized, like that a lot of businesses here, they use WhatsApp, but with them using WhatsApp, they are tied or tethered to their business. So they're getting calls 24 hours a day on their personal cell phone from people reaching out to them. And so being able to figure out a way that they can kind of step back from the business, create some form of automation. Now, it may not be a website. It may not be, all of the things that we use in the States, but creating some type of system, even if it's just an auto response, something to help them to not be so tethered to their business 24 hours a day. Because what I'm learning is business owners here, and they have great work ethic here, and I'm not
Oh,
knocking that.
yes.
They will work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day if they have to, but that constrains them in a sense that they can't scale their business because they're always in the business doing the business. And so trying to teach them how to step back for a second, see what can you put in place so that you as the business owner aren't the one doing all the work. And it doesn't mean you have to hire a staff necessarily, because these are mainly small business owners that I'm talking about. So they're not in a place necessarily to hire a staff, but just them being able to create some breathing room so that they can live a life as well as run their business, and also to expand and to scale, because it's hard to scale when you're the end all be all in your business. You can't scale because you're always chasing that hamster wheel. You're always doing, and you can never grow. And so it's little things, it's not anything major, but it's sitting down with them individually and saying, so for what it is that you do, how can we make this, how can I help you to work smarter and not harder?
That is so true.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to add to it that it's almost a difference in thinking from being self-employed to being a business owner, and looking at things from, how do I deliver a superior customer experience? What I've learned here is, like you said, people here are working hard, and you get doctor return calls on the weekends and evenings like nobody's business. But you can actually give me superior customer service if you automate some of the things, or maybe keep better records of me. You know who I am. So every time I interact with you, it doesn't have to be the first time I've interacted with you. Like, you know me 5 times. Act like you've seen me before. So, Glenn, you were going to say something. Chime on in.
Yeah. I think, and to Sheri's point, I really think it's really a mindset shift is the biggest challenge, I think, because again, our mindset, 7 years ago in 2015, when we created our business, it was, how can we effectively service people without having to be in their city? Right. So, long before the pandemic, we were figuring out, how do we coach people online? The service that we provide doesn't necessarily require for us to be in the room with you physically. And so then with that, and I always tell people that, Sheri was the first of our team, which, grew exponentially after she pioneered it, but she created systems to interact with how I show up that would interact with me. And so it becomes very intuitive in that respect. If someone texts me and they are interested in one of our services, I may see the text, but there's a place that goes as I'm seeing it. So I may be aware, but I don't have to respond to that, because there is if they do this, then this is what happens. And so she's created a number of systems. And then even when it came to the place that we hired on people, or we brought on teammates and things like that, now we have sort of SOPs to be able to give them, this is how we run our business. This is what we need you to do. And even that's expedited. So for us, it was a mindset shift, one that we made long before we ever made this move. And it's funny because every time we turn around, we almost feel like we cheated the system a little bit, because we were already on this page. It wasn't something that we prepared to do, if that makes any sense.
No, I think it does. So I'm going to shift gears for a moment. Some of the people that we talk to, some of the people we encounter, are in the States, and they're looking at possibly relocating, whether it's Panama, Latin America, or anywhere. And you and I recently had a conversation about systems and having a team, just really having a team to support you in your goals. Because I think a lot of times, if I'm being honest, the American worker talks himself out of things before they realize that they don't have to change everything that they already need to bring to the table they've got within them. They just got to look at it and evaluate it. And so you and your coaching, and I don't know if you still deliver this, but maybe speak a little bit about how important it is for someone who's thinking about making this move, especially if they're like mid-career, like 40, early 50, and they're thinking about making a move, and they're like concerned about how they're going to make money. What should they do maybe 12 months before they actually get on the plane, sell everything? That was a lot. I know that was a lot.
No, that's okay. Research, research, research for one. And I think you have to not, we often have people say, we're living vicariously through you. Don't live vicariously through me because your life is not my life. So you have to know what it is that you want and what it is that you need. Now, as far as somebody that's mid-career, you're going to have to look at whatever country it is you're going to. Every country has different visas that are available. They have different rules as far as employability when you get to those countries. So you need to research that first. Everybody can't just pick up. We happen to be in a unique situation for us. That we were in a position financially that we could just pick up and leave between our business and some other things that we had going on, that was not, finances was not a concern for us. So that wasn't something we had to worry about. But if you have to go, if you're looking at moving, and you're still in the middle of your career, you're not like, for us, we came here on the quote unquote retirement visa because we're of the age for retirement here in Panama. And so we were able to qualify for the visa because of that. But if you are looking at moving to another country and you need to still continue to work, now the good thing is a lot of companies nowadays in the States, they're allowing people to telework. You're able to work remotely, but you need to start checking with your employer. Can you do that and you're not in the same state? Can you do that and you're out of the country? Those are questions you need to start asking now. And it may be changing positions to something else within the company that will give you the leeway to do that. Otherwise, like I said, researching whatever country it is to find out, what are your options to work in the country. Look at what American companies are in, or Canadian companies, depending on where you're coming from, are in that country you're looking at that possibly you can get a job with before you move here, but you're working for that company that's already here. So there are a lot of international companies here. So if that's something that you're looking at, you need to start doing your research on that prior to getting here. It's very hard. It's not impossible, but it's very hard to get to a foreign country, get a work visa, and then find a job.
And that's true. And I think the majority of people, and sorry to cut you off, but the majority of people, I think, who are looking at coming, I think they already understand that the visa doesn't necessarily give you a work permit. I think what I'm seeing is that they are acknowledging that they are looking for a wholesale change. They don't want to do the things they were doing. They don't want to do the career things they were doing. They're looking for, okay, I'm going to leave the country and maybe I'm going to write the next bestseller, or maybe I'm going to be some sort of creative outside the country, because that's what's being touted. Or maybe they think they're going to be the next Bitcoin millionaire. I don't know. I don't trust Bitcoin as a store of value, but that's just me. So if you were to meet that kind of person, what would you prepare them for?
Yeah,
I would advise them to build it before they come.
That part.
Yeah.
And Sheri, let me jump in and kind of give a little context, in the sense that, I tend to coach people, particularly in the business consulting space, who are very much in this particular place. They are in the mid-crisis of their careers, and oftentimes, I'll give you an example. I have a client right now who is probably about 7 years from retirement from the federal government. She has a business that she has been running on the side for the last 11 years, I believe it is. Mm-hmm. After coaching with us, she became profitable for the first time a few years ago, having never considered profitability on her quote side hustle. So I want people to hear this. You have some skill sets. By the way, this person's a CPA, okay? By
wonderful.
And the person works for a federal government agency doing accounting work, okay? So with that being said, she created a business that right now, she generates more revenue in her side hustle, if you will, her business, than she does in her salary. 7 years out from retirement, she has chosen, I will stay and retire for obvious reasons, because at this particular point, 7 years from now, she's planning on doing something extraordinary. Well, now she's positioning herself to do that, but it all rises and falls on her transferable skills. My skills did not get honed in business for myself. They got honed in the businesses that I helped build for other organizations. The radio industry, for example, I was able to monetize significant revenue that most people don't even see how to make using social media because of my radio background. It all. So what I would encourage this person to do, don't be concerned about what the economy at whatever given place it is doing, what jobs may be available. Be concerned about your transferable skills. And if you have skills and, consulting with a person like me can help you identify that, it can be something that you can absolutely plan to do. And to Sheri's point, you don't want to do that in retrospect. Now,
No.
because
No.
now you've run out of time in that respect. Does that make sense?
If I can add one other piece too, when you're looking at doing it, although you may have transferable skills, like I said, I think you should build it before you come, but you have to take into account where it is that you're going to and what are the salaries like in that country. So you could come here and have skills in whatever. You could be an electrician. Let's just use something, a common skill. You could be an electrician. You could be a master electrician. And you were making, I don't know, maybe you making six figures. I don't know what electricians make. Let's say you're making six figures in the States. You come here to Panama, the salary is not going to transfer from one to the other because the salary rate here is much lower because the cost of living is lower. So you're not going to make the same amount of money here. And so that way, if you live in the United States, if you live in another country and you want to live similar to the same standard of living, if you want to live off of pretty much the same as what you're making there, you're going to have to build something you're going to be able to continue to earn that level of income. Remote I think is the greatest way to do that. Like I said, or transferring to a company here that's, from the same place that you are, that's going to give you that same level of income.
Go ahead, Aaron, because I know you're probably chomping at the bit to jump in on this one.
No, so you know me is what you're telling me. So I agree with you. I certainly think in the way we went about it for us was we looked at how much could we save before we make the move. And there's a couple of ways of looking at this, right? So you don't wake up, in my opinion, and I know people who do this, but you don't wake up and decide, okay, I'm about to move. I ain't putting up with this. So if you're looking at 2024, 2025, and you're thinking that, well, you need to start doing things like probably this time last year, but you still have options. You still have things you can do. So it's not going to cost you the same amount. So the amount that you think you need may not be the same amount you need. I know personally, we're probably a third of what we needed to run our household in the States. And then the flip side is, I definitely hear a lot of people saying that they want to come regardless of whatever their financial situation is. The social services ain't gonna pick you up here or probably any country. So, you can go to the free clinic and they probably will provide good services. That's not my first choice though. So really think about what kind of life it is you want to live before you make that commitment. Now go ahead, Mr. Glenn.
Yeah, it's funny. Sheri's laughing because I agree. Now, again, these are two different mindsets. To what Sheri said, I would never think about trying to be an electrician here and making the kind of money here. But what I would think about is teaching and training electricians in the US on how to take a particular test that needs to be taken. Create an online space where all you do is train them to take a particular universal test where you're now charging them a monthly subscription of some sort or some kind of fee in order for you to train them. This is something that you've created, you put it in the can, and that begins to be the training. And when they're paying you on a regular basis while you are still working in the US and you're now generating $10,000 a month in people paying you for the knowledge that you have, I can come here, work on the economy, consulting people and helping to teach and train them, building a business that does not require me to live on the economy. And if you really know your stuff, that is not hard to do. It just takes you having the mindset to build a thing. To back to her point, you can't wait to get here and build it. You got to build it before you come so that you have it. And that's what probably separates Sheri and I from most people. And we do that kind of stuff almost at will. It's like, how can we create a lane to teach what it is that I've spent a lifetime helping people through? And if I can get somebody to pay me anything for it, I can now monetize it. If I do that, it's something that I can package up and scale it in a heartbeat. Does that make sense?
And it's not what you can do, it's what you can teach. It's what you already know. Yeah. And so when I think about the kind of careers that probably would be easier to do remotely or here, things like CPA, international tax experts, business bookkeepers, maybe even notaries. Those are the kind of things that I think if you already do those things, and let's be honest, I mean, you can go and get training and certified notary like quick, fast, in a hurry if you needed to. Those kind of things will at least give you something that is transferable to wherever your landing place is.
No, 1,000%. And I just think that you probably should be thinking about that because it's a quicker pathway. And again, to your point, we're right about the same space where we're operating off of a third of what we spent to operate in the US. And so even though you quote may make less, we purposely pare down our business where we're not generating the kind of revenue that we did in the US, but we also don't need it. So I don't need a car that, all told with the payment on the truck, brand new truck, the maintenance package, the insurance is all, you're over $1,000 a month in the US for a $50,000 vehicle in a heartbeat. I don't care what you're
I don't want to drive on these streets. I don't know about
and
you.
Listen, you and me both, bro.
I'm
not interested. So I have a driver, not a car payment. And it's cheap.
That makes everyone's life even easier. Now you're supporting the local income, the local economy. You're building up that person's business. Personally, we've got 2 or 3 drivers that we rotate between, kind of spread the love. But that's to me how you make the impact here. So we're about at the end of our time. Is there anything that you would want to share about your business that you want to tell our audience?
Well, one of the things I do want to say is if you want to find out a little bit more about what we do, go to our website, GlennPBrooksJr.com. And it's my name. It's 2 N's. It's JR, not the word spelled out. But go to that website and just find Sheri and I have been running an online relationship academy. It's a personal development company, really. And we can help people regardless as to the relationships you have, whether that's the relationship with your boss, your employees, your employers, your spouses, your children, you name it. We teach people and we give them tools, strategies, and able to position them very much like a coach in sports. Our job is to assess your talent level, put you in a position where you can win, give you the game plan, and hold you accountable to running the play. And if you're willing to do that, we can promise you some pretty extraordinary results, not because we're amazing, but because you did the work. And I just think that, if you want to find out more about that, I appreciate us jumping on with you, man. And thanks for having us. Moving abroad is easier than most people think. We were just talking to a group of young ladies this past weekend, and I'm saying, I wish I knew what I know in y'all's 40-year-old bodies, in y'all's 30-year-old bodies, because if there's any regret we have is that we didn't do this even sooner.
And on that, we're out.